All right. Looks like it's happening. Incredible.
That's so.
All right. Amazing. Mazel tov.
So, are the previous classes, are they recorded anywhere?
They are, and Bezat Hashem, I'll get you a link for them. But
Oh,
now,
okay. No
Bezat Hashem,
problem.
starting now that I did that, I think it's going to be easier to do it for the future. You'll be able to just have everything up on YouTube, and it's a lot easier for everybody. I think. I hope. Okay. So in the middle of Torah Nun Vav, sort of a funny place to start this year, but whatever. We're in the middle of Torah Nun Vav. Likutei Moharan. Ois Vav. Here he kind of starts a new kind of an idea. Well, lefi hagdalas hadas kein haparnasa benakel. The more you expand your consciousness, the easier that parnasa is. Ki parnasa benakel, parnasa livelihood, with ease, tola bedas, depends on consciousness. K'mashikasuv, shatu ha'am velaktu. This is a description of man. Here we can open up this pasuk, I think. Shatu ha'am velaktu, but this is talking about the man, that people went around and collected man. Here we should see, whoops, can even go into the Rashi, I think. And it says, the people, shatu, the simple meaning is, lashon tiyul, that they like walked off, had to go travel to go and get what they needed, right? Now here it says, shatu, Rashi says here, without too much toil. But the Zohar learns it a different way, because what did they do? They went out and gathered man, and then they ground it up and did all this work on it. So Rashi brings a sifri. It doesn't mean they actually put the man into grinders and baked it and so on, but rather that it had the taste of things which were ground and baked. But the Zohar on this, I wonder if they actually have the Zohar. Any case, let's close this. The Zohar that Rabbi Nachman is quoting here. Let's see if I can close it. Here we go. The Zohar that Rabbi Nachman is quoting is Shatu Am. Will this take me back? Yeah, Baruch Hashem. Okay, and I have to go down to where we were. Sorry about this. Shatu Am Velaktu Bishtusa. The Zohar is going more with the pshat of that pasuk, where it says that they had to walk far to find their man, and then they had to grind it and bake it and so on, which implies having to do work and being stressed about it, right, and worried about it. And the Zohar learns shatu, not lashon tiyul below amal, not like Rashi says that it means like a stroll that's easy and just stroll and take the man and eat it and it tastes as if it had been ground, but rather shatu from the word shtusa, foolishness. And the people who were foolish with their man, they had to go travel around to get it, and then they had to process it. What exactly happened with the man lamaisa? Did people grind them? Did they not grind it? I don't know. But the Zohar, in any case, sees from here a hint to the idea that the people who are of foolish consciousness have a harder time. The less positive consciousness a person has, the more he's going to have to toil and work for his parnasa. And this is related to what we saw last time, Monday, about, because this whole Torah that we're learning is about Malchus and finding our own special Bechina, our ineffable individual kind of leadership that each one of us has to shine out into the world and influence those who are in the revealed and hidden spheres of influence of our soul. But there's another kind of Malchus, which is the Malchus of Haman Amalek, which is not about this kind of positive royalty of influencing, inspiring others to Avodas Hashem, but rather it's a kind of a rulership that is based on power, which is particularly based on money, and working a whole life not to gather people together and dedicate them to Hashem, but rather to gather money together and show how great you are and powerful you are, right? And so it's against that backdrop that the Rebbe brings in here that when you're in a positive state of das, which is a word he's been using a lot, that das gets built out of finding those and kind of unscrambling those letters of Torah that are there in our darkest places. The more we have that das, the less our parnasa is going to be stressful, the less of a hold that the dark malchus, that other kind of royalty will hold on me, that I'm going to be less concerned, oh, how's my status? Do I have this much money? Do I have that much money? I'm going to be less stuck in the world of Osef Mammon, of gathering money together. It will be less, and which is related to the idea of gathering the man, right? I'm going to be able to just receive what I need from Hashem, trust, and my life is dedicated to a whole different kind of royalty, not a royalty that's based on how much I have, of the haves and the have-nots, a royalty that's based on mamish, the essence of my soul, and the particular light I need to bring into the world. When I'm in that place, so naturally the other malchus, the malchus of grabbing money, diminishes and takes up less of my it takes up much less of the space of my consciousness, and I'll be much less in a state of toil, yagia and tircha, words for toil and effort and stress.
Is there a connection between Amuna and Das? So in other words, it seems like the more faith one has, then the less one is worried about making parnasa. So is there, and I don't,
yeah, for sure.
You don't usually connect Das and Amuna together, or I don't.
Yeah, no, they're very related. Real das, right? What is das? So an analogy that's a wise man once said is chokhmah when it's just information. Like, for instance, somebody shows you here's what a healthy cell looks like. Here's what a cell, with Yana has, right? That has a very sick cell, right? Fine. So I'm just looking at it with detachment. It's just chokhmah. But then they say, okay, now here's your cell, right? So the way you're going to perceive yours, especially when you might be a bit worried about maybe I have that, chalila, this machla, whatever it is, magefa. So das is something, and here in terms of Torah, what we've been learning about the whole beginning of this Torah, the das that's being built is a emotion, like an emotional connection to what I know. So when I'm really getting to know that mamish, the letters of creation are the letters of Torah, and the letters of Torah that I speak really do connect me to Hashem, and especially when I can really find those letters hidden in the darkness of my life experiences that have been so hard, and then they turn into das. It means the way I look at the world is a whole different kind of a sense of priorities, right? The sense of priorities is something that is so deep that needs to be kind of built through experience. You can know, it makes sense, this should have a priority over that, right? But you know, that's still chokhmah. When it becomes das, so your psychic space, your stress, you can know all the right priorities, but then when parnasa comes around, you're stressing about it, right? Because you haven't really digested it all, right? But when it's mamish in your heart, and you really know you've experienced it, that Hashem is with me in my darker places, that the letters of Torah, what's really, then parnasa is a different thing. I'm not looking at the world in this chitzoni way. How do I get the stuff and the power that I need? I'm looking in the panimi way, the letters of creation. It's a whole different kind of a thing. Now, das and Amuna are very related, because the das is how far this can go in terms of like actual language-based thought and understanding. And Amuna is just a continuation of that same thing, past what you can explain, past what you can say, that you're trusting beyond that.
Right.
But das is a very important. What's that? Das, in this sense, a very important component of Emunah. In fact, like maybe just for 1 second, show you there's a okay, maybe not right now. Anyway, Das and Emunah comes up a lot in Likutei Moharan, and that kind of what I just told you is basically how he kind of looked at it. Again, it's always dangerous to try and sum up Rabbi Nachman ever about anything, but okay. The Gam Lefi Agdalas Hadas, furthermore, and this is also very related, right? The Parnasa world is always called, the Barracuda tank, the rat race, the whatever it is, dog eat dog, right? It's not pretty and harmonious and peaceful and beautiful, So when you're stuck in the malchus of Haman Amalek, it's a very violent world of just with limited resources, and I want to show you that I'm bigger and I got to grab it, and it's it's very, very intense, and people are very heavily fighting over this stuff. But the more das the person has, the more expansive their das is. Kain nisra b'hashalom. So this is very related to what we were just learning in terms of parnasa. It's just an extension of that into beyond even only issues that are financial, but other issues as well. I have just a much more peaceful outlook on things. Ki shalom tali b'das, which of course v'garza evim keves, ki mal haaretz deya. This amazing vision of Yeshaya Navi, that one day the sheep will lie down, the wolf with the sheep, and the namerim gdir bat, so the leopard will play with the goat, and egel chfirum riach tav, and all these visions of animals that are predatory, having peace with the animals they usually eat, and people will not fight. Why will this be? Because the world will be filled with das, right? The Mashiach is going to fill the world with das. Shalom nifla ba'olam, and that's going to cause a wondrous peace in the world. There's a mechloikas amongst the Rishonim. If this means literally, you can see it in the Rambam and the Ravid, the end of Hilchos Malachim, Perik Yud, where the Rambam describes Mashiach, and the Rambam says when it says these things, it's an analogy. It means people won't fight each other. The prophet talks about animals, but it really means people. And the Ravid says, no, it's a miracle. It means the animals themselves. So either way, Kimala Aretz Deya, Shia Shalom Niflabon, to be a wondrous peace in the world. Sheyuchlu Lagur B'yachad Shnei Hafachim. The two opposites will be able to coexist. Machmas Goydel Hadas Sheyaz, because of the great consciousness that will be then. Geidei Hadas Nigdal Hashalom, because through Das there is more peace. Kinis Batel Hakas V'Chzarius Adei Das, because anger and cruelty, it just gets nullified by Das. When I really have consciousness, I'm really present. There's no such thing as being cruel or cutting somebody else. I know everything is from Hashem. Anger and cruelty only come from a lack of das. As the pasuk says, anger only in the bosom of fools does it dwell. The more conscious, the more das, the more there's mercy in the world, and parnasa comes easier. B'vchinas hasam gvulech shalom chelev chitim ezbiech. Pasuk says, until it says in Psukei de Zimra, he places your border with peace and satiates you with the fat of the wheat. The Gemara says, if you have a dream about wheat, it means there's peace coming into the world, if I remember correctly. Now, Baruch Hashem, he gets to Shavuos. V'zeh b'chinas Shavuos. Ki Shavuos hu b'chinas seichel gadol v'gavoa me'od. Shavuos is the aspect of a great, great and awesome consciousness. Shehu chesed elyon v'rachamim gedolim, which is a supernal love and great, great mercy. Ki godol harachmim tol godol hadas, because the degree of the greatness of mercy depends on the greatness of the das. Ki b'shas matan Torah, amazing thing, Rashi brings it down. Nira lahem kezakein malei rachamim. What does this mean? That Hashem was revealed to Am Yisrael as an elder that is filled with mercy. The zakein hu b'chinas yishuv hadas. The concept of a zakein is that they're in a state of settled mind, settled consciousness. Of azeh talui godol harachamim, v'alkein shavuos hu chesed elyon v'rachamim gedolim. And therefore, Shavuos is this great, great, supernal love and great, great mercy is coming down on Shavuos, right? This time of revelation. That's what revelation is all about. It's not about information. Revelation is about love. Revelation is that God is holding us at every second and maintaining all of creation and communicating to us and wanting us, witnessing us, loving us. Great, great rachamim. Great chesed elyon v'rachamim gdolim. Awesome, awesome. That's what Man Torah is about. Just revealing these letters of creation, the letters of Hashem's Torah, the letters that just go deeper and deeper, just teaching us more and more and acknowledging us, loving us, holding us. This is the aspect of the mikvah, Shavuos, big inyan. Stay up all night and then go to the mikvah before davening by night. Shavuos morning, it's like the highest mikvah of the year. Mikvah shel shar hachamishim. There you're going, you're toiveling in the 50th gate. Shehu shar ha'elyon mechamishim sharei bina. This is the highest gate, the gate of the 50th of all the 50 gates of Bina. Shehu b'chinas seichel v'das elyon b'chinas chesed elyon v'rachamim gdolim. This is this amazing thing of the supernal chesed and great mercy. The idea of the 50th gate, Reb Nosson speaks about it quite a bit in Likutei in many places. The Gemara says that even Moshe Rabbeinu only reached the 49th gate, because the 50th gate of understanding like belongs to Hashem. That's like Mamish Hashem's perspective.
I got some good snacks.
1 second, great. Okay, I'm in the middle of teaching. So even though Moshe Rabbeinu has, so how can everybody reach the 50th gate? And this mikvah is because Hashem reveals it. It's not something that becomes, that it's like that we completely have. It's something that's revealed. This is something that will only fully become part of life in a fixed way after Mashiach comes. Right? The Har Sinai. This is why the Chazal say the Har Sinai Pascha Zuhamasam. All of the negative within us was completely fixed and healed on Shavuos. But then the goy was the golden calf, and it wasn't kanireh time yet. But in theory, everything necessary for Mashiach happened then, like full revelation, full love. The 50th gate, mamish, opening up. Just, it didn't completely last, and we're waiting for that still to happen. Every Shavuos, we touch that place. There's a revelation more of that place. And Rabbeinu continues, V'alkein mikvah moshia mikol hatzaros. Therefore, mikvah is a great thing in general. Going to the mikvah is something which saves a person from all troubles. Mikvah Yisrael moshia be'ez tzara. Hashem is called the mikvah of Yisrael, right? That's soon tomorrow night. Like we're going to be singing. Mikvah Yisrael Hashem, right? That's another pasuk, but that Hashem is our mikvah. It's the same idea here. Hashem is our mikvah, which also means He's our tikvah. It's the Mefarshim say it comes from the word hope, and He saves us in our time of distress. Kihu chesed elyon shemashim mikol hatzaros. It's a great chesed that saves us, redeems us from all troubles. And therefore mikvah is something that can purify all impurities. Hashem throws the water of mikvah upon us. Below oven. It's taking it a step further from Tuma to the world of sin and of suffering. All suffering is in some way related to sin, and the mikvah is the life waters that just surround the person and almost like rebirth the person. Like you're going in there, you disappear into it, you come out fresh, right? That's the enveloping love that is life-giving, that tells you in one moment everything can turn around. You go from Tuma to Tara, from Chet, from Rasha to Tzaddik, from that. This is the great power of what a mikveh is physically, and this is the spiritual power of Har Sinai and of the holiday of Shavuos. V'zeh bechinas man, and all of this is the aspect of man, the eating of man. Bechinas mikveh shel shar hanun. So here in the Sfarim, they have a big mem and a big nun. So man is like it's almost like a play on words, the mikveh of the 50th gate, and so the first letter is mem and the last letter is mikveh shel shar nun. Mem nun, mikveh of nun. Shehu bechinas das gadol ki haman bechinas das. Because the eating of man is this place that's called das. And I hear the Rebbe is being unbelievable, because he always is, but I'm saying, we were talking before about the definition das. The amazing thing about man is the people ate man. Why do they call it man? The pasuk says they called it man ki lo yadu mahu. Because man is exactly the aspect of not knowing. It didn't know what it is. Rav Nosson writes about this in Likutei Halachos. We were just learning it earlier today. Chala Halacha Gimel. He says, Rav Nosson also provides the answer there. He says, because the purpose of all knowing is not knowing. So what real das is about is the kind of, like we said, emotive understanding and consciousness which engenders wonder, which allows you to experience newness in life, right? The chokhmalog, the person who is just a chokhma person, what the Chazal call a donkey laden with books, right? He got all this Torah information, but it hasn't changed him at one bit, is a know-it-all. Been there, done that. And this is the trouble for all of us, and myself very much included. I don't do tshuva because I think, well, I already know, I already tried. There's nothing new to do anymore, right? Real das is called man. Real das is to know that we're loved more than we can understand. The 50th gate is beyond even Moshe. That Hashem gives it to us anyway. He gives it to us. It lets it wash over us, lets it really give us a whole new lease on life. You come out from Har Sinai, mamish, a new man. You really, really, and that's what das is about. Das is the ability to embrace newness, to actually not know. Tachlis hayadiya asher lo neda. The purpose of all knowing is to really know how not to know. Like the deepest master, and I saw this in Montreal, Rabbi Leib Barron Zatzal, this wonderful Rav who lived just a few blocks from my parents' house. And I grew up, I when I was getting into Yiddishkeit in my teenage years, I used to go to him. He was a person who had traveled with the Mir Yeshiva to Shanghai and been through so much. And he was also a Talmud of Rav Elchanan Wasserman, that's all, who was the primary student of the Chafetz Chaim. So a lot of Rav Elchanan's shiurim on Shas were actually taken from Rabbi Barron's notes. So he was somebody who mamish, and he himself had written a bunch of Sfarim al Shas and Shelas and Shuvas, and he was huge. But I remember sitting with him learning Gemara, and he was teaching a bunch of teenagers who barely knew Hebrew, forget Gemara, and he's like this world level Talmid Chacham. And I remember him looking at us with these eyes and, Rabbi Sai, what is this Gemara saying? And he was like completely asking. He'd probably learned it 50 times. But that's the mark of somebody with das. They've had enough experiences of surprise of Hashem and surprise of the Torah and surprise of finding Hashem even in dark places and so on, that they can look at a piece of Gemara they've seen 50 times and, wow, Rabbi Isai, what is this, right? That's man, right? They called it man because they didn't know mahu. Man means what or who. What is this? Who is this, right? Because they didn't know what it was. They couldn't, to get used to being fed by an energy that I have no idea what it is. This new energy is coming into me. It's going to bring me consciousness I never had before. This new Torah I'm learning, who knows what it's going to tell me today, right? Mamish, that's what das looks like. That's like, right? Mikvah shel Shar Hanun. Immersive experience of the mikvah that really renews me and really helps me look, okay, you know what? Nothing that I've ever experienced in the past is you know, it's all helpful, it's all good to learn, but it doesn't make me a know-it-all. It doesn't make me have no wonder. It all actually makes me even more curious and more excited about the future. Right, that's the whole thing. Yetzias Mitzrayim is actually to have a future, right? You could take the Jew out of Egypt, but to take Egypt out of the Jew, you got to go all the way to Shavuos, right? And it's to really feel like, wow, we really do have a future. It's such a big thing, even for now, like we've been speaking about, the hiddenness within hiddenness, like we've been learning about in this Torah, to really have a sense of searching for Hashem, to bring back the search. So this is a Gemara in Shabbos, where the Gemara is like darshaning the letters. It's looking at the letters and learning things from the way they're shaped. It's a very deep Gemara, really, Gevalt Gemara. And they say the mem, that is the open mem, the mem that's in the beginning or middle of a word, as opposed to the mem that is satum, that's closed, that is the end mem. That's the Gemara calls mamar pasuach, an open statement, as we'll see. And the nun, that is a long nun, that is like the nun at the end of man, like he's basically spelling out mamar pasuach neman pashut, that's mem nun, right? Pashut also means stretched out, spread out. So the nun is called in the Gemara simple and stretched out, loyal in a simple, stretched out way. Maimer pasuach zebchinas is galus hadas. Open statement, that's called the revelation of das. Ki hadibur hu his galus hadas. Because what does it mean to speak? True dibur, that's another term in Moharan. Dibur is when you're revealing das. Hu his galus hadas. That's why it's so wonderful to hear a good person talk, and even if they're just saying anything, just hearing from them is good. The das is coming across. Yadiber hu is galus hadas. Mashikosav mi piv das uzvuna. From his mouth I receive das, as the Mishlei. Uv Mitzrayim. This is a big thing from the Arizal. Shaya das begalus. What was in galus in Mitzrayim was das. We were missing das. We were in such a small-mindedness. Mashikosav ushmi Hashem lo nodati lahem. My name Yud Kei Vav Kei did not make known. And Gam Hadibur Begalus. So that's from the Zohar. So the Arizal speaks about das being in Galus. The Zohar speaks about speech being in Galus, because they're both related. The ability to really have consciousness, and then the ability to share that consciousness. That's being free. And we didn't have either of those. And the idea of speech being in Galus was personified in Moshe. B'vchinas kvad peh kvad lashon. Heavy of mouth, heavy of tongue, that he had of speech impediments. But then when we left Mitzrayim, at which point da'as, the consciousness, leaves the exile. So now yatsa v'niftach hadibur. Now speech also becomes a whole new thing. We were making sounds with our mouths. We were saying things in Mitzrayim when we were slaves, but it wasn't really talking. Free people talk, right? And they're really giving of their, like we've been learning all along, their malchus to each other, inspiring each other. They're expressing their each one's bechina, their ineffable individuality, and that's real dibur. Now there also came out from Mitzrayim true dibur, and it opened up. And this is this aspect of the letters of man. The mem in man is maimer pasuach, sheniftach hadibur. True speech is opened up, and das is revealed. Nizgal hadas, and consciousness is revealed. Val yadei izgalus hadas. When somebody really talks to you, and this is something I think is very related to the process of therapy. Nispashet ne'emanus Hashem yisbarach. Then it becomes clear to you, there opens up for you the fact that God has been loyal to you all along. That's a gewalt. Because deep down, frustration and depression, anger, a lot of it, whether it's conscious or subconscious, is directed at God. How could God let this happen? How could things be so tough? And we've all faced a lot of this, especially in the last year. Mamish hard stuff. But when real das gets spoken out, then you just know, even without knowing exactly how, but you know that God has been loyal all along. When you get an expression of the consciousness of someone who really knows the letters of creation, who really has gotten in touch with it and found real das, real God consciousness, even in darkest places, and has that confidence, has that shine, and it's expressed in Dibur. Then the mem, the mamar patuach, opening up of real communication, gewalt, that causes that the ne'emanus of Hashem, the God's own loyalty, which has always been there, but it was kind of like curled up. Now it can like unfurl and be a straight long nun and go all the way down to the depths. V'nikar shehu ne'eman. It is now recognizable that Hashem really is ne'eman. Hashem really is loyal. Mavtiach ve'oseh. He promises, he follows through. V'zebchinas ne'eman pashut. Shenispashet ne'emanuso. That's what the nun, when the Gemara calls the end nun, ne'eman pashut, the stretched out, simple, unfurled nun, and which is the ne'emanus, which is God's loyalty. He's always been loyal to us and there for us. Dependable. Aval b'Mitzrayim, but when we were in a constricted state in Mitzrayim, in an exile, Shaidas, because we didn't have the consciousness, the conscious itself was in exile. Lo nispashem nisgal nemunu. So Hashem's loyalty was not unfurled and made revealed. It was curled up somewhere, maybe it's deep down, deep down somewhere. We knew somehow God is Ne'eman, but it didn't feel like that, and it was very hard. V'zeh sheperish Rashi, Shmi Hashem lo nodati lahem lo nikarti b'midas amiti sheli. Rashi says, even to the Avos, they did not yet see Yetzias Mitzrayim happen. They had to kind of trust in a curled up kind of a way, not in a revealed way, not in a Ne'eman pashut. Because this das was not revealed Mitzrayim. So then Hashem's loyalty was not perceivable. Because to perceive God's love, there's got to be consciousness. There's got to be das in order to be able to perceive that. And we just didn't have it. And this is the aspect of the word, that first word Hashem spoke to us of Anochi. As the Gemara brings a whole bunch of acronyms for those letters, Aleph, Nun, Chaf, Yud, and here is this Yehiva Ksiva Ne'emanim Amareya. Given in writing utterances which are loyal. Through the giving of that written Torah, niftach hamaymer v'nizgal hadas. So Yehiva Ksiva, and through that Ne'emanim Amareya. Through that the utterances could be made. Not only just God's utterance became available to us, our own ability to speak to each other, our own ability to express the depths of Torah to each other came out, and through that we were able to really perceive God's loyalty to us. Hashem's ne'emanus became revealed. So his loyalty became unfurled. It was there all along, kind of like embryonic, kind of like curled up and unseen. That's the nun that is the regular nun, that's kind of a little bit curled up, and then it becomes the straight long nun, the end nun. So Yehiva Ksiva, the giving of the Torah, of the written Torah, causes that now Ne'emanim Amareya. You can have the Ne'emanus, and you can have the Maimer Patuach, which is all again the Mem and the Nun, which is Man. V'zeh b'chinas Man. Roshei Tevos Mamar Ne'eman. So now Rabbeinu is putting together these two. The teaching in the Gemara about Mamar and about Ne'emanus and Nun, and also this teaching in the Gemara Kuf Hey, which is the next page and after Kuf Daled in Shabbos, about that the Torah brought, the giving of the Torah caused utterances that are loyal, Mamar Ne'eman, a speech which is loyal. B'chinas mamar pasuach neman pashut. Ki amanu b'chinas das gadol. That's what man is about. This great, great consciousness, which is, like we say, the consciousness of not knowing. Valkein achlu b'nei Yisrael saman arbaim shana. And therefore we ate it for 40 whole years. Ki ben arba'im labina. Because the number of 40 is related to bina, which is, bina is the in-between from chachma, the information, to das, which is that emotive awareness. We need lots and lots of bina to relate it and grow what we know into being mature. Like turning 40, ben arba'im labina, means the person now has matured enough that they can understand how things relate to each other. And that's the way to keep on building das more and more. We'll do just a little bit more. They ate the man for 40 years. But it wasn't 40 years. 40 years less 30 days. Rather, the bread they brought out from Mitzrayim, which is the matzah, tamu batam man. They were able to taste the taste of man in their matzah. Ki be'emes haman, this man shu b'chinas das, hayaroi shechlos arba'im shana b'shleimus. They should eat it for a full 40 years. Why? As he said before, ki arba'im b'chinas bina v'das. It's that like chokhmah to bina to das. So bina is the in-between that helps us process our information and come to das. So it makes sense for it to be 40 years dafka. Then a take of Shabbat Mitzrayim, these Gala Hadas. The moment we left Mitzrayim, Da'as began to be revealed. Hayroy Shechlu Aman, so it should have been eaten man right away. The Chazal gave the teretz, yeah, they were. The matzah had a taste of man. Ugash is Mitzrayim, Hainu HaMatzah, Tamu Batam man. Is it going back to Shalom? Okay, let's see how much I can fit in here. Ki HaShalom Toloi V'das. Because peace, as we said before, depends on das. So machlokas u hefech das, argument is the opposite of das. Ach yesh machlokas l'shem shamayim. However, and then here we're getting back to what I was saying before about, das on the one hand is peace, resolution, everything being at peace. But then there's something even bigger, which is that das is meant to bring you to a place of not knowing, right? And so Machlokas that's l'shem shamayim u'be'emes das gadol me'od. That actually is a super great level of das. Yoiser mehadas shel shalom. It's actually even greater than the das of peace. Ki be'emes ze machlokas hi ahava v'shalom gadol. The truth is that what it really is great love and great peace. The argument between two people who are earnestly trying to understand Torah is a great thing of love. As Chazal say, "Es v'hev v'sufa lo zaz misham atzenazu ahavim zelazeh." I don't have time to get into that pasuk, but they learn out from this from the song on the well of Miriam that it's that people who argue and really, really get into learning and they argue and disagree so much, in the end, it brings them so close. It brings them to great love. That's what they mean also. They say when there's an argument that is really for the sake of heaven, it will last. It means it's going to bring them together. It means that it's in truth love. It's going to last in the end, as they learn that there's ahava in the end. That's what it leads to. And then we'll just learn this little next bit. Zebchinas Moshe. This is the aspect of Moshe Rabbeinu. He says one of the coolest things in terms of like a vort. Ki Moshe b'chinas das b'chinas machlokas shem shamayim. Moshe was that great das of argument, of holy argument. Valkin Moshe hu roshe tevos machlokas Shammai Hillel. Amazing. Mem Shin Hey. The argument of Shammai and Hillel. Moshe, that's his name. Shem chinas machlokas l'shem shamayim. Mom, it's an amazing thing, because again, the greatest das is the das of newness, the fecundity of argument, of true argument, is even greater than shalom because it's such a great love. It brings to newness and depth. That's why Torah. That's what it looks like. You walk into a base medrash. If it's quiet, there's something wrong. It's not supposed to be a library. A library, you imbibe information. A base medrash, you're getting into it. You're building a new depth of surprise, of excitement about the future, of new understanding, of the das of non-das, the das of man, of the vivification Hashem is giving us each second, which at its at its essence is not understandable. Kilo yadu mahu. What is this? What is this? We keep learning more and more and more, and we do come to understanding. But there's always the depths that it is infinite, and there's always more to understand. That's what real das is about. Process coming into this wonderful process of growth. So, Bez Hashem, we will continue.
Right.
Was that?
Isn't that there's a teaching that in order to have true peace, you need to have dispute. You can't just go to peace without there being a struggle to get there.
Totally. I think that's also true these days in the conflict resolution studies and how to really bring people. Each person has to really say their thing, and it gets developed at 100%. And certainly in Torah, as we just learned. So Be'ez Hashem, next week on Monday, Wednesday's shir should be okay, because I'll be back from America by then.
You're in America, right?
Yeah, I'm flying tonight. So Monday.
Huh?
What's that?
No, I saw